Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DABCC TV. As always, I'm excited for this episode as we have a great one for you. Today, we're going to learn all about some Vizioncore solutions, and first and foremost, vOptimizer Pro. So, on that note, we brought on the amazing George Pradel to show us vOptimizer Pro. So, first and foremost, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today.
No, you're welcome, Doug. I appreciate it.
Hey, well, thank you. Okay, so, George, real quick, tell everyone out there who you are and why we should watch you show us vOptimizer Pro.
My name is George Pradel. I'm the Director of Strategic Alliances for Vizioncore. Some of you may know me as an SE from VMware. Others of you, and kind of where Doug and I got our start, was back when I worked for Citrix. I worked for Citrix for about 6.5 years. So my virtualization experience goes back quite a ways, and with the current company I'm working with, which is Vizioncore, we've got some great products that I think everybody will get an idea that it really helps with your virtualization needs, and we're going to show you two of them today.
Well, perfect. Okay, so first, before we get into the actual demo, I just want to ask you real quick, can you explain to everyone who is Vizioncore and what do you guys do?
Yeah, Vizioncore is a company. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of Quest Software. And what do? We do virtualization products for the BCDR type of environments as well as monitoring. So we've got products that will do a P2V. We've got products that will do the one we're looking at today, which is vOptimizer Pro, which will optimize your virtual machines once you've got them virtualized. And then we can monitor those with vFoglight, which is the other product we'll look at today. We can back those up with vRanger Pro, which we'll probably hit on at another day. And then we can also replicate those virtual machines with vReplicator. So again, we've got quite a group of tools here that customers can take advantage of in order to get their environments in ship shape.
Well, very cool. Okay, so let's actually see this. I'm very excited about this vOptimizer Pro. For everyone out there listening, I actually downloaded this product about a week ago or so, and I was blown away. There's some applications that you just are like, wait a second, this is just instant value. And what do I say? I'm not going to give you too many reasons on why. I'll let you guys see this video and learn for yourselves. But this is a product you must have. It is thoroughly amazing. So, George, I'm quite excited for you to show this thing off. So, what are you going to show us first?
Basically, I just kind of want to first kind of tell people what the product does. What the product will do is this product is for automatic resizing of virtual machines up and, yes, down. So when I was a VMware SE, this was kind of a challenge for us. And so we're going to show you exactly how you can change the size of your virtual machines and do that very easily. And this also allows you to align along the 64K boundary that VMware recommends in their best practices. So we're going to show you how to do that. This product can be run inside of a virtual machine. That's no problem whatsoever. And in doing so, you'll be able to get the advantages of it. So the resources that it takes up are not a lot. So just basically, whatever you want to put up, you could even have a Windows XP virtual machine that you could load this up in. You download from www.vizioncore.com/downloads, and then just select vOptimizer Pro, and that'll get you the latest version of the product. A couple things to note is that whenever I take a look at a product, it's kind of nice to know, when you're trying to look at these things, what are some of the things I can know to quickly get up and running with this? And that is, there's two ways to connect to this. You can either connect to Virtual Center and then connect to your host. So as such, if you you click on the first icon, it'll ask you for the IP address and also a username and password that you can get access to your Virtual Center with. It even has a test connection button here so you can check it out ahead of time before you do that. Now, the other thing that I want to show you, because I know for a lot of customers it would be kind of like myself, is that you can actually go directly to an ESX server. So let's say you've got an environment where it's just a single standalone ESX server, or in the case that you want to just connect directly to it. You put in the IP address. You'd also put in the username. Now, this username here, which it says vOptimizer, That's usually a root level password. But obviously in most environments, especially a production environment, in order to comply with security practices, that we're not going to be able to use the root password. So what you can do is you can actually put in a username, and you could call it vOptimizer, you could call it Doug. You could put in the password, and then you put in the root password and verify the root password. And down here, what it's telling you is that if that account doesn't exist, that vOptimizer account, we're going to go into that ESX server and configure that vOptimizer account for you and create it so that way you're good to go. You have a nice audit trail, and you can see who actually performed what processes on the ESX server. So that'll get you up and running. So let's go back on this. Now you can see in this situation our virtual center's got a lot of storage that's attached to it. One of the things that you can do is that if you know what your cost per unit is, and so we've got like $10 per gigabyte, and we could do this by megabyte, what have you. We could actually go down here and change that. So that way we can kind of get an idea when we get to the charts about how much disk we've saved and how much disk we've taken out.
Oh, very cool.
So first thing let's do is you're going to want to create a project. What projects are is that projects are a group of servers that have particular needs. So let's say you want to create a group that would be like all your web servers, that type of thing. You could actually create a project that would actually allow us to do that and change the quotas and such on the fly.
Okay, so show us how to create projects.
All right. So basically one of the things that you'll be reminded of is the fact that the different statistics, and then to make sure you enter cost values in. I've already gone ahead and done that, so I'm not going to save any changes here. This is the Projects tab, and this is one that you'll spend some time in. And so what you can do is that if you want to create a new project, you'll just click on the plus sign over here, and there's some different things you can choose here. Enable VMDK resizing, so that means I want to size the VM up or down. We just click on that. Now align the partitions on the 64K boundary for ESX server. We want to go ahead and do that too. What it's going to tell us is it might take a few extra minutes in order to do that, but frankly, a few extra minutes for those of you who have tried to do that alignment along the 64K boundary is not too big of a deal there. So then we'll go ahead.
Can you, real briefly, what is the 64K bit boundary thing?
Yeah.
Talk a bit about that?
Yeah, there's a VMware best practice, and basically it's having you align the virtual machine along a 64K boundary within the VMFS. And we've actually got a link that goes to give people more detail about that, as well as to kind of show you some diagrams that kind of help with that. Basically what it's doing underneath is that it's helping to reduce your disk I.O. because of the fact that instead of using 2 blocks, because we're aligning the first block of the virtual machine on the virtual machine file system, it allows it to be much more efficient. And so it's, no black magic here. Basically what you're doing is that instead of starting in the middle of a block and then having to read an extra block, you're starting at the beginning of a block, and then it's a sequential read there. So it makes it a lot easier. And then the other side of it is that you're actually increasing the length of your disk storage because of the fact that it has to read, do less IOs.
So is there any danger in doing the realignment? What's your best practice around that?
Best practice is it's really not a danger with the alignment as much as it is, if you're resizing a VM, best practice is to go ahead and back up that virtual machine. Obviously, the way we'd like you to do it is to download a copy of vRanger Pro and take that and do a hot backup of that virtual machine, be able to back that right up. So that's the easiest way to do it, but there's other methodologies. I just, being on the other side of the fence, you got some smart guys here. Backing up the virtual machine is probably the best idea here in order just to make sure. But there's really no danger with it, except for the fact that we're shifting, we're aligning things in place. So that's why it's always best practice to have a backup before you're manipulating things, because we're going to go in, we're going to be working with the operating system in order to change the size of the disk. So it doesn't require an extra partition manager after the fact. Because some people have asked me, well, George, I can use VMKFS tools, and Virtual Center does a real nice job, resizing the VMDK bigger, but then you have to go back in, right? Yeah, he said, yeah, I do. So this does it all in one shot.
Very cool, very cool. So, and just everyone out there, I did this on the fly within my entire environment and had no problems whatsoever. So, worked flawlessly.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that, we really pride ourselves on is the fact of having products that are easy to download, easy to install, and you get up and you're running, and hopefully, you get your problem resolved quickly, because that can be one of the most difficult things.
I saved 100 gigabytes in about 20 minutes from the time I downloaded or from the time I went to the website to download the product.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I'm pretty excited about this product.
See, and that's, for the people that are listening, I think that's one of the things that you'll want to at least know this product exists, and you may not have the issue at the moment, but one of the things we're seeing is ROI that is unbelievably quick. We're seeing 30-day ROIs with some customers because they're looking at, how large the environment is. And, when you built these virtual machines, nobody's psychic, so you don't know exactly how large to make the virtual machine or how small to make the virtual machine. And so trying to get it just right is very difficult. And then going back after the fact and resizing that VM is just, a real challenge.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say is that if you're trying to move a virtual machine, take it from maybe one site to another, one of the things you can do is resize the virtual machine down to a smaller size, back it up, and then the backup is a lot smaller as well. So it's just kind of something to think about.
Okay, so we're in this ESX servers list.
We'll go over here and take a look at, this is a project that I've got set up that I like. It's a very simple, straightforward project. If we look here, what will happen is we'll connect in with the virtual machine, and we'll pull some information out of it. So we're going to get, if there's multiple volumes, we'll get the multiple volumes. We're also going to get the VMDK names. Then we're going to look and see, okay, within this virtual machine, the free space that I've got within here is only 575 meg. So this one's been scrunched down pretty good. It's got a quota right now of 10%. So if you look at, okay, here's our used space, 10% of that is what, 500 meg? Yeah. Actually 575 meg. So that's what the last change was. What we can do here is that's a little too tight. So let's change this to 25%. And as you noticed on the pull-down box is that we have the ability to set these different quotas. And kind of give you a little idea of how this actually works is that we take the used space within that virtual machine, we add the quota to it, and that will be the new size of the virtual machine. So, in this case, let's say that we want to go with 1 gig. So the used space right now is 5.5 gig. The quota is 1 gig. So the new size, if we do this, will be about 6.5 gigabytes, giving us free space of 1 gig.
Very cool.
So, in fact, let me show your viewers here exactly how to go ahead and we can go ahead and set that under the Preferences tab. We can move over to the volume resizing, and we can go ahead and add one in. So let's go ahead and just add a quota of, let's say, 2 gigabytes. If I didn't fat finger that, we'd be better off here. Okay, so we want to go ahead with 2 gig. Now, we could specify it as megabytes, gigabytes, or percent, but we're going to just do it by megabytes. That's what my brain's wrapped around today. So, all right, so now we'll have the ability to go in here and select the 2 gigabytes. And I'm going to go ahead and kick that off. One of the things that you can do here is that if you want to run this, you can actually run the optimization immediately here, or you can schedule it. So one of the things that we can do here is that I can actually run the project in the background or in the foreground. And so I'll run it in the background, but what I want to do, I'll say yes to save those changes. I want to make sure everybody that's watching takes a look at this screen, because this one's real important.
Yep.
if you're, because you know this one, right?
Yeah, I tried all three.
Okay, so think of this as foreground and background running. The first time you run the project, you're going to want to run it in project mode. And the reason why is that you'll get immediate feedback on the front of the screen. What it does, though, is it locks you up. So it's going to lock up the screen during that period of time that you're going to do it. Running in job mode or scheduling in job mode would be a background process. So you could go ahead and kick it off in job mode, and then you could come back to it and then see how it's done. So I'm going to go ahead and run it in job mode just so that we can go back and we can see this going forward. So let's go ahead and run it in job mode. So right now it's actually running in the background. So I'll show you a little bit about some of the other features, and then we'll go back and see how it did. It usually takes this resize that I'm doing on here. Usually it takes about, 10, 15 minutes. But I don't know, Doug, what was your experience when you did your resizing?
Well, the first time I did it, that 20-minute time I'm talking about was 2 VMs. And what I had done actually was I have, as everyone knows, I have DABCC.com web servers. So I took I wanted to back these things up more so than I always do. So I just did a P2V, and I copied that and in return FTP'd that P2V to me here in my office. But when I did that, I left the original drive space. So I ended up with these 100 gig drives, and like 80% of it empty, right? So I wanted to actually do a backup, but I didn't want to back up 200 gigabytes worth of storage, 80% of it being empty. So that's why I downloaded the product. So when I did that, I downloaded it, set it to optimize those 2 VMs, and it took maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes to do that. Okay. It was really, really, really quick. And then once it was done, I saw that on those 2 VMs, I saved 100 gigabytes, and that's what made me just literally ecstatic.
Well, and that's the whole thing, is getting some of that disk space back. And, it'll vary a little bit. If you haven't defragged your drive in a while, then it might take a little bit longer. But I think, Doug's experience about 20 minutes is about normal. Remember, the virtual machine has to be powered off in order to do this. Because what we're going to do is we will power it down for you. But it's an important thing to know so that, you're not trying to do this during work hours or what have you. Because we are going in and we're changing the size of that virtual machine, as well as we're manipulating the operating system inside of that. And by the way, the operating systems that are supported are Windows 2000, Windows 2003, and Windows XP. Other ones will be added as we go forward, but those are the ones today. And so while we're waiting for that job to move through, because we can actually go and take a look at it, see our 2 gig, and actually that's running now, so we'll come back and we'll see how it is. That free space, when it's done, should be about 2 gig at that point.
And how do we know when it's done?
That's a really good question. And basically there's some log files that are being run in the background. But that's really why that job mode versus project mode, why we want to make sure that the first time that people run this, they run it in project mode, because that will give you full, it'll show you exactly where the optimization is at during the optimization and give you good feedback right there on the screen.
Cool. Otherwise, we can just probably go to the Jobs tab and see that it's finished.
Yeah, exactly. So if we go over here now, we can see that it was submitted. We can see that it's moving, but it hasn't finished at this point.
Cool.
So let's move over to the cost statistics so that we can see. With the cost statistics, we can go in and take a look at this one particular virtual machine that I like to play with here. And it's actually one of our other systems engineers, so hopefully he doesn't get mad at me for using it. Nah, it's for a good cause, right?
Yeah. Mess with them. Bring it down to 1 megabyte free space.
There you go.
Now that actually brings up a good question. Let's say you did try to resize it down to, no space. What would happen?
There is a minimum of 400 megabytes.
Okay, good.
So you can't go below that. And that's one of those things where we're just trying to help you to not mess up things for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, Doug, so if we go down here to this M. Marquez virtual machine, we can see that we've got statistics for this. So these are all the different times that the reclamation has been run on this, and so all the times that I've been demoing it out and such. And if we look here, we can actually see that our used space, we can see what the before cost was and what the after cost was. So did we save money, or in the effect of growing a virtual machine, did we maybe actually lose money in the fact that, let's say you got a virtual machine that's like a transactional virtual machine. You're going to need to make that larger as time goes forward. So you want to be able to do that, and that way you can reduce your costs because you can run this product using the scheduler on a regular basis, like let's say every week or every month. Kind of the situation you might do is maybe every month on your like web servers that they have, you can run those a little bit tighter, and on your transactional virtual machines you might want to go a little bit longer with it. So we can look at, see some of these other ones and what days, et cetera, that they were out there. So some other things that we might want to take a look at are some of the other charts that are available with the product. Again, the whole idea here is that this is great for management types so that they can go in and justify the tool to say, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Let's go ahead and let's purchase the tool. Or, wow, I can't believe we had that much disk space that we weren't using.
Yeah, George, you make a valid point there. You can definitely resize these things, but not just by taking it down when people have added too much space to the drive originally, but there's sometimes when you'll run out of drive space and you wish that your drives were bigger. So this tool actually add more space too. And because you have the scheduling ability, you can do this all on demand every single day, right?
Yeah, if you want to do it every day, I mean, because like we talked about earlier, where the virtual machine has to be down, you got to do it in accordance with your maintenance windows. But the nice part about this is that you can increase the size, you can decrease the size. This is a good example of you can look at a virtual machine and see over time that as the virtual machine was resized up and down, some of the cost savings that you've got, what the used space was, the free space, and the reclaimed space. You can actually print these out and use those as you will. But
can you email them to people?
Yeah, actually, you're right. You can email these as well. You can create them in XML format. You can create them in HTML format.
Oh, very cool.
So if you want to put them on an internal intranet to show how much money you're saving because you're so cool.
Because we're justifying our jobs. We're not cool. We're saving our jobs.
These days, are you kidding? That's a very important thing.
Okay, George. So that sounds good. Is there anything else you'd like to show us about this? I think you've done a pretty good job here, a very good job, and that's what's so neat about the vOptimizer Pro. It's just that simple.
Yeah, it really, it almost sounds like the old Ron Popeil line, but yeah, it is just that easy. And I would encourage folks to try for themselves because, one of the things is a lot of people have run into the situations that you have where, you're right-sizing a virtual machine. And you can do it. First thing that most folks do is they take it down and they try to right-size one virtual machine, perhaps on a demo system, what have you. There's an eval available for downloads that'll give you 2 optimizations over a 14-day period. Try it out and see what you think about it because I think you'll have the same experience that Doug and I have. And that has been that it's a great way to resize a virtual machine, makes it very easy to do, and then provides that value that, you can regain some of that disk space back. And, with this economic times, this is something that I think has got quite a bit of value to it.
Oh, I totally agree with you, and it's I usually don't ask about price, but this is a very inexpensive product too, so it doesn't really break the bank considering all the value that it brings. What is the price?
Yeah, it's priced per CPU, so that way if you've got a 2-way quad core, you only need 2 licenses to be able to manage all the virtual machines that are on that server, and it's $299 per CPU. That's a pretty good bargain if you think about how much disk space costs. You don't have to save an awful lot of disk in order to recoup the cost of those servers, or the licenses, which is why some customers are looking at some pretty quick ROI on this.
Well, just think about me, for example, George. I mean, I saved 100 gigabytes, and that was just 2 of my VMs. I still have, 30-some VMs to go, right? So just 2 of them, 100 gigabytes. For me to slap another 100 gigabytes into my array, which is for me a lot of money.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I mean, I could buy this product and actually have an instant ROI on it.
Well, that's the nice thing is that it really applies to small businesses as well as large enterprise customers. Sometimes people say, well, what about thin provisioning, George? And I said, well, yeah, but thin provisioning, that's a great technology, but you still have to determine the size of the VMDK will grow too. So at some point, that may or may not be the right size. And so you can use this tool to help you even with of those technologies. So again, the whole idea here is that it's more of a common sense tool that just addresses some of the real world problems that folks are running into with virtualization with VMware.
Absolutely, and I'm going to go on record as saying this is the coolest tool I've seen in a long time for helping me with my virtualization infrastructure that I have running here in the office, and it's one that I'm using, and I'm very, very happy. I test a lot of applications, and this one was just I got all happy about. So thank you so much, George, for taking the time to show it too.